It was an intense couple of weeks. And plus, like, you know, think about it. Max Spiers died 2 years ago today.
Today is the anniversary of Max Spiers.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like last night, depending on the timing, whatever you do.
Right.
However you figure it out mathematically, you know?
Exactly.
And so shout out to Max.
Yeah.
Remember the brother.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
yeah,
And,
we'll have to toast to Max. And on that
absolutely.
note, I'd like to welcome everyone to another exciting episode of You Don't Know. You don't know, huh? So don't act like you do. Because then you might not like what happens to you. With me today, from the East Coast, Brandon Young, scholar, erudite, public speaker, and researcher of strange things. And boy, have we got something to talk about today that's definitely high strangeness. And Brandon, how are you doing?
Good, Ayin. Thanks for having me on, man. Always a pleasure to talk to you. You're a badass. I love the work you're doing. Love the shows recently. Love Sethicus Boza. He's a brother. Think he's awesome. His Black Earth Productions channel is just like one of the best out there. I was glad that he came on the show for a 2-part series. That was great. Bobby Bang Bang is always out there. He's awesome too, you know. Or Adam Subtractum.
Yeah.
You want to, you know what I mean? And then you had Miles on, which was great. You know,
Yeah, right.
And Miles been taking a lot of heat lately, and I think a lot of it is like based on, as you said, possession. And we'll get to that. We'll talk about like maybe there's an element of possession that Tim Refat talks about that could infect. Like you hear Miles talk to Tim Refat in the interview, and he says, "Oh, so these dark energy matter beings that attach to the appendage point of the body. Remember, I told you those are scuttlers, right? Miles calls them scuttlers, but in the Illuminati literature, or in just black magic or magical literature, and look the Castaneda books. There's the appendage point in man, and you know, Tim Reed can go and see Tim Refat.
The assemblage point.
He demonstrates it. So if you can target the appendage point, which is on the left shoulder, the appendage point, yeah.
No, the assemblage point.
Or the assemblage point?
Yeah. I've read a lot of Carlos Castaneda.
Oh, wow, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you know the rule of the Nazgul and stuff like that.
The rule of the what?
The Nagul. The Nagul.
The tonal versus the nahwal.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
I know it's kind of, you know, it's really an Indian word. It's not Spanish, but it's pronounced nahwal.
Right.
Like that.
Right.
Of course,
right.
I'm down here a lot closer to Mexico than you are, so.
Yeah. No, Don Juan, yeah, whatever. But there's some really, like, Tim Refat will take those. You're right to notice that he'll take sections from Carlos Castaneda, and because they're true, you know, he talks about the strange energy attractor. Now, if you haven't read the Castaneda books, you'd not know what the hell he's talking about. You know what I mean? But you know, man, that's really smart. You're smarter than, you know, not too many people flies over their heads. So
I know it. And now that, you know, I hate to, that being said, I really don't understand the strange attractor. So let's you know, Tim gives a formula. So let's start with that.
Good one. Good.
What is
So the strange attractor. So yeah, it's good to have like a glossary of terms when you're trying to figure out what Tim Refat is and what he's trying to say.
Yes.
So it's good to have like a list of definitions, you know. So I'm gonna, you know, he caught my attention maybe a year or two ago, and not too many people had heard of him at that point. He wasn't on video really too much. He was doing the Rent Show, which is a radio show, kind of low key.
Terrible Tim.
Terrible Tim, right? So some people know him from that, but if you go to his websites, he has thousands of MP3s, you know, like, I mean, you can, and you know, you just discover more and more and more. And so I've listened to all those and been in contact with people around him and stuff, so much so that they've contacted me and wanted me to, you know, get into it and stuff and be part of their vampires. So the question was, what is the strange attractor?
Yes.
According to Tim, and he's a mathematician, so there's a math, and I studied math too, pretty hardcore. So there's the strange attractor you can think of. Do you remember when Terence McKenna, and now you can say whatever you want about Terence McKenna. I kind of like him, but, you know, some people are calling him an agent and shit like that, but I don't know. It's neither here or there. He referred to the object at the end of time, the eschaton, the omega point. This thing at the end of time. There is going to be a singularity at the end of time type of thing, right? Now that's a mathematical, so we're all being drawn, time is being, in the fabric of reality, is being drawn into the strange energy attractor. And the strange energy attractors could, Tim call another term he calls Elohim. By Elohim, he just means interdimensional spirits on all levels, from Lilith to Jesus to Yahweh, you know, and all those different things, Anunnaki, Nephilim. It doesn't matter to Tim Rifat. They're all Elohim. They're all external powers, entities that have forcing a will upon us. And so, yeah, strange energy attractor is almost like an abyss, a black hole, if you will. Not just mathematically, but in reality. So they are in a negative state. So when you die, for example, your soul will go to the strange energy attractor. And this thing, in the Castaneda books too, is perched. It's like a crow. It's like a giant crow or a bird that just sucks up life and feeds on fear, feeds on human, like a parasite almost, if you will. So this thing is always there, the strange energy attractor, the Samael, the idea of Samael, the serpent in the Garden of Eden, you know what I mean? With this poisonous venom. So that's the strange attractor. He calls it the strange attractor. It has a very specific meaning in context of mathematics, like I said, in chaos theory, which, you know, is a field of mathematics. It's fairly new. And what it's all about is seeing the order in the chaos. So one good example is a Mandelbrot set. And it can probably be best explained as if you were to take a piece of broccoli, a big piece of, like, a head of broccoli.
Yes.
And then you take a bit off of that, and you still have the same structure. Take a bit off of that, you still have the same structure. Take a bit, that's fractal, chaotic mathematics. So yeah, that's what the strange attractor is anyway.
Fascinating. Now, the strange attractor does have some of the aspects of the archons, or, you know, the Elohim, which I guess are the same thing, and or at least depending on who you ask. Now, it is interesting that you say Tim Rifat puts all of these interdimensional and extra-dimensional creatures all in one category. Well, you know, that reminds me, you know who else does that? Hattie Bow.
Who?
Hattie Bow.
I don't know. Who's that?
Hattie Bow is the guy who, Crow 777.
I know him.
Yeah, well, Hattie Bow is the Russian scientist that supposedly assassinated that Crow was looking into. He's the guy that figured out the harmonic relationship between the Earth and the Moon and everything.
Okay, yeah.
And he put fairies, gnomes, Bigfoot, E.T., aliens, he put them all in one category.
You know, you don't hear that a lot, right? You get people that are like, oh no, the Nephilim are, you know, different from the men of renown, and, you know, you have the Greek pantheon, they're different, you know, but no, like Tim Refat is saying, whatever name you call them, you know, it's all one thing. They're all an external, interdimensional entity that you really don't know too much about, you know.
That's true.
And so why do you worship it is his question. You know, why not take advantage of it? You know what I mean? That's his point.
Now, I would like to, you know, take this opportunity, and, you know, of course, we might show a couple little clips of Tim Refat on here, and I think he's cool. I think that the average person, if they watched him for more than a few minutes, they probably wouldn't like him.
Yeah. That's putting it mildly, right?
Putting it mildly, yeah. He's not a very, in some levels, he's not a very likable guy, and, you know, you just kind of have to be into these things like you and me are to respect.
Well, you got to appreciate it. He's he's saying, he's using certain words. He wants to antagonize people. He wants to get, that's the point he tells you. He wants you to either feel one way or another way. So that way there he can...
Yeah, so he is a sensationalist, but he does that for a reason. He's got a pretty, a good reason.
No, it's all sound. It's like he always says, he's a scientist first, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't care about woo-woo, this or that, blah, blah, blah. He's all about the facts. And the facts are that there have been psychic warfare has been going on probably since the beginning of human civilization, right, at some level. But we know for a fact it happened in the United States. We know for a fact it happened in Germany and Nazis and in Russia. And he studied the entire all the literature, including the Russian literature, which is really not too many people look at that. They look at the American MK Ultra program, whatever. But they don't look at the psychic warfare programs in Russia a lot of the time. And they're very interesting. But he knows his stuff. It's all based in fact. It's all based in math. And that's why even I said to C.W. Chanton, I said, like, good luck proving him wrong. Good luck proving Tim Refat wrong, because you're going to have to know, Boolean algebra and, set theory and all this, like, really interesting, intricate mathematical theory to even prove him wrong, because all his ideas are based on number space, and the idea, it all follows logically, and it's all based in fact. So how can you argue against them? You know what I mean?
It's tough, and you'd almost have to be a mathematician, which I am not. You are obviously much better at mathematics than I am. I'm kind of a language and words guy, etymology and stuff.
Yep.
And I wish I was better at mathematics, but I'm still trying to grasp the concepts. Now he has this when he talks about the negative I. And
right.
This is like one of these symbols that you use in higher mathematics. Is it one that he's arbitrarily assigned to some value, or is this something that other physicists use too?
Oh, it's just, it's a very mainstream. Negative I means -1. So if you imagine, if I had a whiteboard, I'd show you. But, you have 0 in the middle, then you have 1 and -1 behind it, right? The -1 is the negative energy variance or variable in that equation. The positive I, or the positive 1, is, as far as I know, is the positive sublime good upliner. That is an algorithm that forms, because remember, Tim Refat said the language of the machine world, right? It's mathematical. It's not language. Because you try talking with a robot, you have nothing. You tell a robot mathematically to do some Google to go search out certain things and censor them or whatever. They can do it because they know the language of mathematics. They don't know conversation yet. So anyway, the binary of the 0 and the 1, positive 1, and the -1. From that alone, you can deduce everything Tim Refat says. The -1 is just a negative I is just, imagine there's 3 different timelines of you right now. There's your positive timeline and positive energy where you upline sublime good, and then there's the negative aspect where you are around negative energy, and depending on what you do with that, depends on how long you live and your vital, that sort of thing.
That almost sounds like the idea of Gehenna, Gehenna, which is the idea of that there's even another Earth that's even more gross and dense and materialistic than this one, and
right.
more maybe evil and everything. Almost sounds like the movie One with Jet Li. There can be
well, that's interesting. That's interesting, man. Well, he. One of the services Tim has is called the Omega Point service. And what he posits is that there's definitely timelines, right? We have there's say 5 many different timelines that there are. And there's a past you, there's a future you, there's many different versions depending on which reality you choose to be, which one you choose to be. It's all dependent on your choice. And so Yeah, I don't know. I think it's has to do with like a timeline shift. You know what I mean? Like you have to see. You can with the Jet Li. He uses that the one. You know that movie, the one, because in that movie, I haven't seen it in quite a while. You can maybe tell me, but like there's multiple Jet Lis, and in fact, he has to like kill them all off.
Yeah, he's collapsing.
He's the one remaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Collapsing him into one. You know, not that I believe that CERN is responsible for the Mandela effect, but the popular idea seems to be that they're trying to collapse these timelines into one timeline.
Right. Exactly, man. Well, that's what Tim Rifat says. He says that, okay, and this is, and I know physics well too, and the whole quantum questions and the whole crazy world of particle physics back in the early 1900s. And believe me, we are light years from that now. Okay, incompleteness theorems and things like this. So he said, now the Copenhagen translation of quantum physics said, and this is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, that and the observation principle, that simply by the act of observing something, you are then a part, and that is your eye as well. The eye, you know, it's all symbolic, and it works on various levels.
Negative eye, right? Got it.
Exactly. So that for you to measure something, you have to experience it. That's basically it. And so you have to subtract yourself from the equation. But there's, you understand what I'm saying? It's like
it's just like the experiment where they showed the light to the little slits to try to determine if the light was a particle nature or a wave nature.
Or wave.
And then what they found out is that by observing the experiment, it changed the experiment. And so there is no way to separate the observer from the experiment.
That's exactly right. That's it. And so you can imagine that when people observe something, that they're creating and manifesting a reality. And so everything that gets much observation, like a pop star, an A-lister, a banker, a multi-billionaire Rothschild, royalty, the Queen, the Pope, all those people, they know they have to keep this egregore going. They know they have to keep the idea going, especially the Pentagon, according to Tim Rifat.
Yes.
And so they employ the star, the 5-pointed star, and all the flags with that star are putting forth. I think I even have one back there. As a Captain America thing.
Oh, right.
But he wears the star. Now, the Stars and Stripes. Now, that's a magical sigil to project this energy. And so the more attention that you have, the more energy of... Because what happens with psychic warfare is that you can't force it, Aquino style. So Aquino, much respect to Colonel Aquino, he will in the Mind War. I've read his books. In the Mind War, he talks about how humans are just biological creatures, and if you blast them with alpha waves, this will happen. If you blast them with delta waves or whatever waves, things are going to change because we're biologically oriented. It's physiological. It doesn't matter. It's incontrovertible. And Tim Rifat agrees. He talks about microwave weapons all the time. You know what I mean? And those exist. That's psychotronic warfare. But what Tim is saying is that through film, through media, through pop stars, through entertainers and the news, this worldwide fame that's only existed for the first time, as far as we know, now in the current present day,
because of
they
YouTube.
Feed energy. They get energy, and it's all about energy exchange. It's not so much about the green money. It's about the energy and filtering the energy and ciphering it and how to do that. And so you'll notice that a lot of pop stars, and not just pop stars, but millionaires and the rulers of the world need to get the attention of people, because once they manufacture their reality and say, this is the reality, Captain America and Black Panther or whatever it is, Thanos and all the movies and propaganda they put forth, they realize that the attention, or the energy, is going to go to their manufactured reality that they want, not what you want. I would like education debt to be dissolved from the country. I would like to see the people, poor people, and the homeless people, and the people, helped out. And they are in some ways, but it could be a lot better, man. It could be a lot better. So yeah, that's not manifested right now, right? And so how do you manifest that? Why has that always been the case? It's because even the pharaonic kings, the pharaonic dominators, I love that phrase, pharaonic dominators, they would use that. They would have a statue of an Egyptian of themselves, say Akhenaten.
I love that. I love that part of his talk. I'm turning this fan off.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
And so, they would have the statue of it. Tim says, and this is true. There are places of worship, and they would worship almost like if you've seen X-Men Apocalypse. It's pretty much very similar to that. The idea is that you worship the statue, and by doing so, it would feed, because they were positioned on ley lines, these obelisks and temples and statues, and the image was an idealized image of, the priest or the pharaoh, and by simple observation and worship of that, those people, those kings, were able to live. I mean, by the Egyptian kings list, it says like 900 years, some rulers. And then it gradually, the technology died down. But I think it had a lot to do with geomancy, which is, and you can see this all over the country with the Freemasons, Then I did talk to Duncan Gridkeeper right before we got on here, and I was trying to get him on, but I asked him if I could reveal something, and he said, okay, yeah, sure. So here's an exclusive for you. Tim Rifat is coming back on bases by popular demand, and this time they're going to go around Brighton, which is like, I don't know if you know Brighton, England, but it is like one of the nicest. It's like the Cape Cod or of Massachusetts, of New England type of thing. It's a really nice area, and it's got so they're going around to all these buildings, and that Tim basically takes the energy. He tells you he's probably going to teach you how to take the energy from the churches, from the cathedrals, from all these different things that are there, and that Max Spiers talked about too. When he went to was it Canterbury Cathedral, I think it was one of the first videos, and he sat in the throne where Henry VIII sat, and I think that was the first time Miles met Max. And only reason why I'm saying that is because 2 years ago Max died.
2 years ago. Oh my goodness! So this is the anniversary of Max Spiers' death.
Yeah. Well, wow. Vanessa, his mom. And I knew something was wrong, Ayin, and the past 2 weeks have been really intense. And it's been a lot of different things. And I knew something was like, whoa, what? It's an anniversary. It must be an anniversary of something. And sure enough, it's the anniversary of Max's death. But, so I'm sure in the unconscious somewhere that's resonating. And he's probably, somewhere in there telling me to talk, but whatever. So Max did say that, how when you walk into a church, you get like a vibration feeling. It goes, he's like, this one's insane. And it is in Canterbury. Canterbury was the headquarters of the church. Remember, King Henry VIII slaughtered like dogs the Catholics and created his own church. And he was an incredible person. He also was the first rapper, King Henry VIII. He's the first rapper, dude. He wrote a song called "Pastime with Good Company," and it's like the most gangster shit I've ever heard in my life, brother. It's like he's like, "Pastime with good company. I shall party until I die. Fuck all you haters. I'm gonna do this shit. I'm taking over the world. Who's gonna stop me?" Basically that's my translation of it. But it's a song and shit, and it became popular anyway. So my distant ancestor is Francis Bryan, he wore an eye patch. If you ever see any adaptation of King Henry VIII, any story, usually there's a dude who looks like a pirate. He has a patch over his left eye, I think, and because he had one eye, His name is Sir Francis Bryan. That is my distant ancestor. He was like the King Henry VIII's best friend, you know.
Wow.
And King Henry VIII could have anybody he wanted, anything he wanted.
Oh,
you know? He was
yeah.
like golden boy, you know.
So this guy was a noble, your ancestor, or a courtier.
Yeah. We've always been in servants to the royals,
to the crown.
And it got to the point where he was his best friend. He was a translator, a linguist, a poet, and a pirate or some kind of naval guy. And at one point, they wanted the same woman. King Henry VIII and they're like, oh, I want that one. Somehow, instead of getting his head chopped off, right? You know, my ancestor, King Henry VIII, was like, all right, you can have her, you know? So anybody else, they die. I mean, he killed a lot of his wives, you know what I mean? So,
oh, yeah.
Anyway, so back to what I was getting on. I'm sorry, I went on a tangent there. Different buildings around the be it, I've been to the Vatican many times. At the Vatican, you really feel it there. You want a psychedelic experience? Walk into the Sistine Chapel someday. And it's virtual reality goggles before they even had it. And the genius of it is that you'll see clouds all around you. You feel like you're in heaven. You feel like you're walking. It's like an optical illusion that Michelangelo plays. And you look over to the left and to the right, and there's these giant, you know, Noah, and they're massive, and they're 3D, and you think they're moving. And then, whoa, what's that? And that's moving. It's like, wow, this is fucking real, right? It's insane. It's absolutely, there's some kind of geomancy there, too.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, it's a sundial. One of the obelisks from Egypt is in the middle of it, and it's a sundial perfectly with the cardinal points of the sun and the whole circle. So anyway, there are certain places in the world where I think the magnetism is strong, you know? And so therefore, magnetism is very mysterious, right? Sort of mysterious, like, you know, energy. And so that field is a bit stronger. And so in some places, and you can make people feel different things. The idea of the Gothic cathedrals and Fulcanelli, mysteries of the cathedrals in French. I read that a few years ago, and it was amazing. It's a whole mystery, but the point of it was that the Templars and basically the beginnings of the Freemasons built these Gothic cathedrals, which could never be built today. They put like it would be like putting the entire defense budget into an art project, okay? And that's what they did, man. And so what they designed it to do was, especially the Gothic cathedrals like Notre Dame, is when you walked in there, it would hit your eyes in a certain way, and it would induce an experience, okay?
An
out-of-body experience.
Yeah.
Hopefully an out-of-body experience, right?
That's what Jay Widener says.
Yes,
yeah,
Jay
he
Widener
said that, yeah.
Good man, yeah, right. So, yeah, and he, you know, maybe we can talk about what happened at Gaia recently too. But I don't know if you heard anything about that. You hear about David Wilcock? That
he got fired or something from Gaia?
He put out a resignation letter,
mm-hmm.
and Laura Eisenhower leaked it on her Facebook. Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's not suspicious at all. But it's the weirdest constructed letter I've ever heard in my life. So I didn't think it was real at first, and then Jimmy Church confirmed that the letter is real, and they have issues they got to work out. But if you read that thing, dude, he accuses Gaia of being Luciferians. He accuses Graham Hancock, who I've met, and he's the best guy in the world. You know who Graham Hancock is?
Yeah, I love Graham.
Yeah.
He has The Magicians of the Gods. Is his latest book.
That's right.
I've got that one.
Yeah. Footprints of the Gods and all these great books. And he's a great speaker, researcher. And man,
what does he accuse him of? What does he accuse Graham Hancock of?
Being a Luciferian, basically, and talking about Gnosticism and all this. And so it's fine for David Wilcock to channel the law of one in the raw material, but it's all of a sudden Luciferian if Graham Hancock's talking about Gnosticism. doesn't make sense, right?
No.
So yeah, you read. I mean, if you gave let me put it this way: if you had to give your boss, if you had one, a resignation letter, or if your employee gave you a resignation letter, would you make it, first of all, like 15 pages or whatever it is? It's like huge, and it includes links, like links. You know what I mean? Like, click on this link to see what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? You wouldn't, dude. A resignation letter is a formal letter, dude. You know, it's simple. So this is a whole public relations spin. He hasn't commented on it. Graham Hancock is like, what the fuck? Everybody's like, what the fuck? Like, Gaia is evil all of a sudden. Hey, man, I've been saying since day one that some of their content's very shady. The Nazca mummy, I was very interested in it. Turns out to be a desecrated human being that they just cut. You know, ask Walter Bosley. You've had Walter Bosley on the show.
Yes. Okay. So that 3-fingered mummy, that was just a regular
human being. 99.999% accurate. Yeah. So, and they did the DNA, and like I think they did 3 DNA tests. The paperwork's out there. It's been, but still, people still believe it, right? And you know, Corey and David had the cosmic disclosure thing going on for a long time. Ayin, you know what? I'm sorry, getting off this topic of Tim.
No, this is very compelling information right here.
Yeah. All right. So I had my own show, and I had different guests on and stuff like that. It was only the audio version and stuff. You know, like a radio show, yeah. So I had Andrew Bartzies. You know who Andrew Bartzies is?
Yes.
Galactic historian. Calls himself a galactic historian, and he actually has been on Sethicus' show as well a couple of times. And we did basically the exact same show, you know. And like if you listen to that show with Sethicus, he's reading what I read too at the same time, and he does it in a great way. But the problem is with the interviews that we did, a 3-part long interview, and I still have them, but the sound quality was way off. Like he didn't mute, or something, and so there was just like it didn't come out right, man. It was too bad. But what he said, we talked about all of this and how, because he knows the business of it, and he knows Gaia. And he's like, check out the Alexa statistics. You know what Alexa?
No, what is Alexis?
Dude, or Alexa. Is it Alexis or Alexa? I think it's Alexa. All right. But basically if you just Google Alexa statistics, you can sign up and pay like, I think $5 a month, and you can get incredible detailed information. But the free information alone is worth it. And you can go to any website and you can see where the traffic comes from, how much traffic they're getting, what are the keywords people are searching to get there, where are they coming from? Facebook? Are they coming from YouTube? Are they coming from blah, blah, blah? I mean, and then what are the related searches, and who are the other people that people? So they're looking at that, and and you know what? And it's funny because Andrew showed this to me. I was like, wow, this is a very useful tool. Very useful. And it turns out that Gaia, if you look up Gaia, it is connected to Clear Channel, which owns Coast to Coast and iHeartRadio, which is a giant media conglomerate, right? And they're also, and God rest my soul there, but they're connected to Blackwater. You've heard of the Blackwater.
I knew that was coming. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'll say this about Blackwater: they did a really great art installation at Burning Man when I was there. They had this big thing. I think it was the Cubitron they did, and it's just like this wacky thing. But yeah, they do art installations at Burning Man.
There's a lot of weird stuff about Burning Man. There's a lot of weird stuff about these festivals.
So what was I saying? Where was I going with that?
Well, we're talking about Gaia, and it sounds like they're more or less a front of the deep state or something.
Well, so Andrew, and you can think whatever you want about, how he can look into past lives, how he can see your aura and kind of surgically align your spine or all this stuff, and And then, he has really interesting, powerful revocation rights. He's world renowned. He has clients all over the world, dude. And anyway, so.
Oh, okay. So he does like healing and special services for people.
Exactly, all over the world. And he has like when he had his show, Adventures in Reality at Revolution Radio, where I used to go over there for the roundtables and for Douglas Dietrich's show, which I was on for a while. And so I would listen to Andrew's show. I actually went on one time, but he would have amazing people on, like people like Reiki therapists, and it just made so much sense. Like, it's like, how did he know? I asked him about like the corners of rooms. I was like, it's like, my friend John Rasmus he's doing this book. He has this video. He has this idea about the corners of rooms. And I know that's in feng shui. Like how your room is set up, and why do entities tend to come from a corner of a room rather than from above or whatever. It's usually a corner of the room, right, behind you or whatever. And so he knew exactly why. He's like, yeah, because in the astral, they're connected. They can see in the corner. It makes a sort of a three-dimensional shape. You can offset it by, and he knows psychic protection. So anyway, Andrew said that we got into it because at that point, the Blue Avians were becoming big, right? They were becoming big. And not only that, they had put out a threat to me. They had put out a video threat to me and to
the Pleiadians?
The Blue Avians.
The Blue
Avians Alliance. Yeah, Corey Good and David Wilcock. Okay.
What was their threat?
Okay, so this is what happened. There was a lot of criticism coming, okay? C.W. Chanter, John Rasmus, me, we were the first ones to say that, this is demonic, maybe, this is negative ET shit, this is things, and then I watched the Gaia programming, and I did a whole show, and Laura Lee Solomon did too. She was Douglas's assistant, maybe still is. Haven't talked to her in a while, but I did a show with her about Gaia, and because she had the same experience. She watched the first Cosmic Disclosure, which is the episode, that TV show that they had, David Wilcock and Corey Good. I call it Comic Disclosure, but so they would sit and talk, and this very first episode, Ayin, it was like the introduction to Corey Good. It was the introduction to the Blue Avians, and it included all this art, but it also included holosync technology or hemisync technology. And this is common, like in advertising, they'll put in movies, holosync or hemisync, subconscious brainwave things to make you feel a certain way. And they'll put in music at the same time, very subtly. You can't even hear it. Well, I noticed that when watching this Blue Avian video, when they showed what they looked like, it was like, whoa, that's heavy. It's like, are they here? I felt, whoa, what the hell was that? Like, it was a weird feeling. I thought I was the only one. I was not the only one. As soon as I started talking about it, I went back to the video and they deleted the video. They took it down and they re-uploaded it without the holosync or without the art on its own. But they already had people right then and there. And so, okay, so I was on to this for a while. I was talking about this, and okay, it's a long story. Okay, so Blue Avians, the threat. Okay, so that's starting to happen. C.W. Chanter starts talking about it more and more. The little bit momentum gets going, and then it expands to a few other people here and there. And there was a lady who worked for the Sphere Being Alliance named Yvonne Palermo. Okay, and she was Groovy Bean. Okay, was her name. She's not on YouTube anymore, but she was doing a series on her. It's too bad that that's not up anymore, because a series of videos of how intimately involved she was with Corey Good, with David Wilcock, with the whole Sphere Being Jordan Sather, and all these people, right? And she knew the inside scoop. And so dark journalists, Daniel List is.
Yeah, he's right here in Austin, isn't he?
Yeah, in Boston, where
Oh,
I am.
I thought he was in Austin.
Boston.
Oh,
No,
I must have
Cambridge.
misheard that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it sounds the same though. But yeah. So he was doing this series of exposing the Blue Avians. He found out, the manager was connected to some, pretty heavy satanic stuff. He's got like tattoos, and he was pointing out, but he had some really good criticism, like, what's the plan here? Like he was very skeptical. Well, that went on, and they came back with, oh, we're being attacked by the Dark Alliance. There's a Dark Alliance out there, and they're attacking us, and you guys got to help us because the Dark Alliance is after us, and it's me, dude, and like Yvonne Palermo and C.W. Chanter, right?
You're the Dark Alliance.
Yeah,
wow.
Exactly. So we had a hashtag for a while. I am the Dark Alliance.
Wow.
But so anyway. So Yvonne was doing good, and a lot of it was heavy for Yvonne because she really put her heart and soul into a lot of these things, like setting up conferences where these people could make money and connections and blah 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 blah, and then they just tossed her away like she was nothing.
Oh, why did they get rid of her? They betrayed her.
I think she might have quit. I'm not sure. I wish I could refer to the videos.
But she sees it as a betrayal. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Well, I think something like she hosted a radio show, and it was kind of promoting them, and would have guests on that was promoting them, or I think, and then it was a certain name that she came up with, and then it became time to put somebody like in charge of something, and they picked Jordan Sather over her.
Oh, okay.
And she was like, "Fuck this,"
Yeah,
like, it's like, okay.
Who is Jordan Sather?
Jordan
I've heard his name
Sather
before.
Young. He's like a millennial guy. You'll often see him if you look at like a Corey Good lecture. Mm-hmm. He's always in the background. Usually, most of the time, he's always there in the audience. Mm-hmm. He's a YouTuber. He started off into like health and fitness and wellness stuff, and then he always has a whiteboard behind him, and he's.
Oh, I think I know who he is. Is he blonde?
Yeah.
Is he blonde?
Blonde hair.
Yeah. Okay. And he's kind of a scientist. Yeah. And then I was watching him, and then thought, yeah, that's cool. And then I saw this video where I thought that he was debunking Corey Good. And because he was talking about him, and then I started watching it. He tried to make the title sound like he was debunking him, but really he was on Corey Good's side. Is what it came down to.
Oh hell yeah!
And then he's selling these webinars these classes that you can take. It's only $350, and you get 8 of the classes, and then the last one Corey Good is teaching it or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, I see. Like I never went into that too deeply, but dark journalists pointed out that, like, oh look, like, what the Spear Being Alliance want to do is capture the millennial, the younger generation that haven't heard David Wilcock predict things and fail, or like aren't
time after time, yeah.
Or have such a short attention span that they're not going to do the research. They just care about being a celebrity. They think they're a celebrity because they're hanging out with David Wilcock and Corey Good on a stage, and they say thousands of people were there at Disclosure Fest. Dude, there was maybe 100. Okay, there was maybe 100 people, if that, listening.
Are you talking about Disclosure in the Desert?
Disclosure Fest. That's Contact in the Desert. That's
Contact in the Desert. Okay.
And hey, by the way, full disclosure, quote unquote, whatever. I've been a Fade to Black listener for a very long time. I have my Fade to Black T-shirt signed by Jimmy Church. I have my pen. People there love me. The fan. It's like a family. They're nice people. But and people disagree all over the place. Like, so one of the announcers, Gene. Shout out to Gene. He doesn't believe in Corey. He's like, oh, this is too bullshit. But the thing is, with the younger gen, they don't care about one or two older fans that have seen hoaxes come and go. You know what I mean? Like UFO hoaxes come and go. Like, whatever it is, like, okay, this guy comes up, he's trying to sell this thing for a while, then he just disappears for a while, right? I mean, these personalities, like, no one follows up because they're always on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Right.
And so Corey Good, but so we started asking questions, man. All right, that's a long-winded way of getting around to that. Basically what happened is Bill Ryan of Project Avalon. He has a Project Avalon forum, which is still probably the most active forum for our field, for the conspiracy field. And he posted the history of Corey Good, or the true history of Corey Good. The first interview Corey Good did was with Bill Ryan's wife or girlfriend or something like this.
Yeah,
and
he was working with them. He was like a video producer or something, video director, editor or something.
Working at computers supposedly, but for Darling Incorporated, which took out a restraining order against him in Texas. They're in Texas, Darling Incorporated. And but anyway, but before that even bombshell hit. So
he was knee deep. He was knee deep in the background of the insiders, seeing how it all works before he got these memories of all this shit.
Exactly. That's the thing.
And then he kept coming up with new material, new recovered memories. Come on, man. Come on.
Exactly. Don't make any sense. I'm sorry. And even I've read Battlestar Galactica. I've read Ender's Game. You know what I mean? I've seen the movies. I know how it goes. Like I see what he's doing. You know what I'm saying?
Is he just ripping off scripts from old sci-fi TV series or what?
I think it's a bit of that, but you think he doesn't come across as the brightest bulb in the shed. So where is he getting these ideas? I think from that guy Roger Ramseur, he goes by Emma Frost, very mysterious. He doesn't really do interviews that much or anything as far as I know, but David Wilcock supposedly picked Corey Good over a few different other people to do this series of Cosmic Disclosure with, because they could have picked Randy Kramer, the Martian Marine who gang stalks Douglas Dietrich all the time, and left threatening messages on him and things like that. But anyway, that's another story. But that guy claims that he's been to Mars and he's fought the insects. He's part of Solar Warden. You ever heard of
Solar Warden?
Yeah. I mean, it's so stupid. I mean, it's like it reads right from a sci-fi novel.
It's ridiculous, and people believe this shit. Let me tell you, me and Sethicus are in a special, I guess, what I call the 5-star group, and there's some. There's only 21 people in this group, and it's not even a regular Facebook group. It's like where you have a conversation going, like if I were to, do something on Instant Messenger, basically, and I put you and me and Sethicus and everything, it'd be a little group, but these groups stay together for years, and people get kicked off and put on and everything like that, and so it just runs like that, like a chat. Well, and I'm in one, and it has some really top level people in it, like Holly Baglio.
I love Holly.
Tony Rodriguez is in it.
Oh, yeah, I heard of him.
Sethicus is in it. Adam.
Tony is the head of, if I'm not mistaken, American Freedom Radio?
Tony Rodriguez. No, Tony Rodriguez is he's a super soldier, and I interviewed him, and he has been recently spotted in the parking lot of Gaia, or he posted a picture of himself in the parking lot of Gaia
really?
TV. Yeah. So his stars is rising, and also Tutakana, who is Tara Allgood. I don't know if you know her.
I know. Yeah, I've seen her in your show. Yep.
She's in our group, and then also KJ Scoops.
Yep.
Yeah, and so it's it's an interesting little group, and I'm the only one in this out of 20. Actually, I'm 2 people because I've got my 2 identities or whatever. So there's 20 people in there really, but it says 21.
Yeah.
And it's closed, and they don't let anybody in there. But I'm the only one. I think the only one in that whole group that did not know Max Spiers personally.
Oh wow! And that's he didn't. He honestly a lot of people met him, but not too many people really. That's saying something.
It really
I knew him, but I'd never met not in person. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean somebody sent me a letter that James Casbolt wrote from prison just recently, and he's talking about Adam Subtractum in the letter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Adam's supposed to be,
Interesting.
I mean, it is. And how did I end up in this group? I mean, I can tell you how I did end up in the group, which is a weird story.
Talk off the air,
Yeah, but it's just how does a group like that just come together? I mean, it doesn't sound very organic. Yeah.
Right. I think we find each other. I think like the bloodlines or we find each other in whatever lifetime we can, whatever lifetime we're in at that time, whether it be we like you and I, Ayin, we probably, if this was in medieval times, dude, we'd be sitting across in the pub. You know what I mean?
Of course.
You'd have your land over there, you'd be another king over here. You know what I mean? I'd be this guy. And that's why I'm drawn, that's why I recognize you. That's why you're a friend.
Exactly. You could even be a reincarnation of your ancestor. Maybe.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, you know what's weird about that? There's only like 3 or 4 portraits of him. And if you see on my hair right here, there's almost like it's a little blonder than it is anywhere else on the. It's kind of hard to tell in this light or whatever. But I have like kind of like a gray streak. It's not so much blonde, but it's a little gray thing right here. Only other people in my family that have that. My grandfather, who was the head worshipful master of New England lodges.
Wow.
Yeah, oh yeah, and he was connected to Kennedy and all those different people. He has the same thing. That's my father's father. And then I have uncles in the all different orders outside of. I think I might have told you that. Like in Pasadena and stuff like that. So Shrine and Freemason. My uncle Bill. But anyway, so
are you involved in that?
No.
Okay, all right. I didn't think so. I just that I would judge you for that. I've
tried different religions. I've tried different traditions and disciplines like Taoism, from Taoism to Buddhism. I've been on month-long silent retreats. I went to the Opus Dei. I studied under Opus Dei. I still am. They give you they give you a 5-year period to sort of make a decision. But I'll tell you what, Ayin, those dudes are rich. Those dudes are wealthy and powerful. The Opus Dei is the only section. There's Franciscans, there's Jesuits, there's all these different branches, right? They're sort of the anti-Jesuits. That's how they started. The Jesuits wanted to kill the Opus Dei because they were like it was a whole drama, and they almost did. But now, for some reason, they're the only ones. They have a special relationship right to the Pope, and they have. And if you look at and I know a lot of them, so some of them are like militants for them. Like Dan Brown, if you look at Da Vinci Code, he has a character who's like a monk from Opus Dei, and he wears
Does he flagellate himself?
There's that. I mean, some people do that. But
I mean, the character in Dan Brown's novel, is that the guy?
The character does. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but
okay. I remember the book.
It made everything look kooky and sadomasochistic and nuts, right? And I didn't like that. And this is before I was even tried it out. So I was like, what is this thing all about, And my friend, who's a constitutional lawyer, he's been to the Supreme Court and argued before the Supreme Court more times than I can count on my hands.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, my Dwight Duncan.
Oh, your friend,
Professor Dwight Duncan. And he's the First Amendment attorney. He's an Opus Dei, and there's a part of Opus Dei, the 1% of Opus Dei, called the prelature or something like that, and then 99% of other people fall below that. These people are like the NSA. They are on call 24/7. They have access. If they call you at 3 a.m. and say you need to be in Rome right now, you get up and you get like a Minuteman, ready to go. You're out the door. You're ready to go. You're ready to rock and roll. Like that's how these people exist. And I'm very close to one. They're great people. So anyway, I went to try to find out what that was all about. So I went for a week-long silent retreat at Pembroke. I think it was Pembroke College, was it? Anyway, it was a school that they had bought. and renovated, and it was like a mansion inside of this place, right? And it's a silent retreat, and it's tough, dude. In the age of cell phones and girlfriends, like, what are you doing? Like, you can't do any of that. You got to be silent. So we would all eat, and everybody was silent. We could read, we could listen to things, go to mass 4 times a day, 3 times a day. First time I was there, brother, and this is just going on a tangent. We'll get back to the original thing. And I remember I was just trying it out. I was getting like through Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, I was seeing, oh, I get Christianity intellectually anyway. I had that crazy experience in the Sistine Chapel, you know what I mean? Which was like, whoa, this shit is real. Like, okay, I get it, dude. I get it. God, there is something called God. What it is, we can debate. But anyway, so first time I took the Eucharist. They did the whole mass and everything. And you're not supposed to eat it. You're supposed to just let it dissolve, right? Yeah. And just put it like acid or something, right? And so I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, and this was right after like a giant breakfast, of all kinds of fruit and everything. I feel like a rumbling in my stomach, right? And I'm walking back. So then we're walking back from the little chapel, and there's like a corridor, like a narrow corridor that leads to the bigger part, right? The library or whatever. And it's snow on either side, and I got to hurl. I have got to hurl. So I look around, and it's either going all over the floor or outside. And so I jammed open a door that was right there and puked my guts out, and it just stayed on the snow. It was all red because it was like there was watermelon. I had watermelon. It looked awful, and it was there all week. And that's a sign of possession. So I had to talk to the priest about because if your body rejects the Eucharist, that's saying like you've got demons, bro.
Whoa.
But I couldn't talk, so I had to write shit down. I mean, it was an intense experience, Ayin.
Oh, they questioned you about it.
Oh yeah, yeah. At the end, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, they make up a lot of since they're so disciplined. And those 1%, they take a vow of celibacy, supposedly. But they're not supposed to get married at least. But then the 99% of the prelates do get married. So
that was that was the question I had.
Yep. So Opus Dei families, it's like a huge thing. Like they really encourage families. But when you need a soldier, when you need a warrior, are you gonna call on dad? You know what I mean? Like, no, you're gonna call on the soldiers, the men that are ready to fucking fight. You know what I mean? Anyway, so these guys are powerful. Like they're no joke. Like I see people putting them down all the time, the Christians and stuff like that. And I'm like, maybe some of the Joel Osteens and the Christian rock groups and all that crap. Like it's basically American Idol on Sunday, and it's the worst shit. But these Catholics, the Jesuits, and especially this Opus Dei order, it is discipline. It is absolute fucking discipline. It's hard. It was harder than my Zazen training or Dzogchen Zazen Buddhist training, Japanese Buddhist training, and meditation. It was different. It was just so disciplined. So that's very useful for intelligence agencies, right?
Oh yeah.
You got a super soldier basically, that can just. And remember, James Casbolt supposedly had an Opus Dei handler. Remember that?
Yeah. My headphone had fell out. You said I heard that you said, "Do I remember something about Opus Dei?"
No, yeah, James Casbolt.
Oh, what did he say about Opus Dei?
Well, he said that I think he was involved with them, and he had an Opus Dei handler that came to Sotheby's with him and gave him instructions in Latin, and it turned his altar into whatever, and that kind of story. But he's all into. He talked about Opus Dei quite a bit. And so I'm, when he gets out of prison, or if he's watching right now, I'd like to hear what he has to say about Opus Dei. Max and I would talk about Opus Dei quite a bit, so I wanted to see what the deal was, Ayin. And I fucking found out, man. I found out, and these dudes are powerful, man. I mean, I could show you stuff right now. I got I came back from the Vatican. I've been to the Vatican since then 3 times, 4 times. Yeah, well, the Vatican itself in Rome. I've seen I have all these relics. I have blessed rosaries from the Pope. And like all this amazing stuff.